بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين.
The third topic is the religious slaughter. فالذكاة بذال معجمة. The word ذكاة is with a dhal, the dotted dhal, meaning not a dal without a dot. معناها لغة التطييب. What it means linguistically is nicifying, if that's a real word there. Making nice, making something nice. وسميت شرعا بذلك لما فيها من تطييب أكل اللحم المذبوح. The slaughter or the sacrifice was religiously called zakah because of what such a procedure does of nicifying the meat nicifying the slaughtered meat. Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. Wa arukanuha arba'ah. And it has 4 integrals. Tadhkiyah, a slaughter. Wa mudhak, and a slaughterer. Wa mudhakka, and a slaughtered. Wa alatu tadhkiyah, and a tool of slaughtering. So if I wanted to translate it by its linguistic meaning, we'd say it has 4 integrals. Tadhkiyah, a nicifying. Mudhakkin, a nicifier. Mudhakkan, what was nicified. And alatu tadhkiyah, a tool of nicifying. فأما التذكية فتحصل في غير المقدور على ذبحه من الحيوانات بأحد أمرين. Now, as for the slaughter, the nicifying itself, it happens to animals that cannot be captured easily by one of 2 ways, by one of 2 matters. بِعَقْرِهِ حَيْثُ قُدِرَ عَلَيْهِ, by killing it in the achievable way, يعني in an achievable way. وذلك بأن يرمى بشيء له حد فيقتله بحده, which would be by shooting it with something sharp that kills it by its sharp edge. فإن رمى سهما أو غيره فقتل الصيد. So if someone shot an arrow or launched something else in some way and thereby killed the game or killed the hunt, بِثِقَلِهِ, and so let me say that again. So if someone shot an arrow or something else, he shot something else or launched something else or threw something else, and then it killed the hunt by its heaviness, lam yahil, that's not lawful. Meaning, like, how would you shoot an arrow and it kill something by its heaviness? What does that mean? It means that it wasn't the point piercing the animal that killed it. It was rather, for example, somehow the side of the arrow hit the animal, and the blow of the side of the entire side of this arrow hitting the animal killed it. Yani, or let's say it, we're here when he says he shot an arrow or something else. So something else like a bullet, but a bullet doesn't have a sharp edge, not usually. But if it were a bullet, then it's not going to be lawful because the bullet is killing the animal by its heaviness. Or if you want, probably a clearer word than heaviness here is blunt force. Blunt force. So if the arrow killed the animal by blunt force, not by piercing it with its sharp point, then it's not lawful to eat it. Or if anything else killed the animal by its blunt force, it's not going to be lawful to eat that thing, that animal. So, when it comes to an animal that you cannot capture easily, then nicifying its meat is by one of two ways. Either by killing it, however one can get it, by doing such as shooting it with something sharp. And this sharp projectile actually kills it with its sharp edge, not with a blunt force. Then that's lawful. وبصيده بكل جارحة معلمة من السباع. Or how else can you get this animal that's difficult to catch because too fast or because it can fly? By unleashing upon it a trained animal, such as a leopard or a cheetah, fahd. Fahd in Arabic covers probably, from my understanding, the fahd is a big cat, not a lion and not a tiger. But I don't think it's a small cat that they call big cats, because those, they got house cats. They have some cats that are bigger than house cats, like a bobcat, and some other cats that are they tend to be big, but they're not still like big as a cheetah or a leopard or a puma. So the fahd, from what I know, is a leopard or a cheetah or a puma. All of those are fahd. If it's smaller than a cheetah, I don't know if it's still called a fahd. And the lion and the tiger are not called fahd. So cougar, maybe a cougar is a fahd. It's about that size. I don't know if you can train a cougar though. So they usually train the cheetahs and the leopards. But they have the same name, the cheetah and the leopard. Or the jaguar. SubhanAllah, I don't want to digress into the world of animals now, but I just found it so interesting that the Arabic has one name for this cat, this yellow cat with spots. You have cheetah, you have leopard, you have jaguar, all of those yellow cats with spots, they have one name. So then Arabic language enabled me to see them like same thing, different variant though, like difference between an alligator and a crocodile. But anyway, let me keep moving here. So such as sending on that animal a fahd or a dog, كالفهد والكلب ومن جوارح الطير, or even a trained raptor, that's a bird, كالصقر, like an eagle or a hawk. So really, I thought a sucker is a vulture, but no, sucker is an eagle. Maybe covers a hawk. Wabaz, and a falcon. في أي موضع كان جرح السباع والطير, regardless of where the wound, regardless of how this trained animal wounds the hunt. This is not regarded. وشرائط تعليمها أي الجوارح أربعة, and the conditions for deeming these animals trained are 4. أحدها أن تكون الجارحة معلمة بحيث إذا أرسلت أي أرسلها صاحبها استرسلت. One of them is that this trained animal would be such that if it is released, meaning its handler releases it, it goes. والثاني أنها إذا زجرت أي زجرها صاحبها انزجرت. The second is that when it is stopped, meaning its handler stops it, then it stops. والثالث أنها إذا قتلت صيدا لم تأكل منه شيئا. The third is that if it killed the hunt, or when it kills the hunt, it doesn't eat any of it. But in the tafsir of Imam al-Nasafi, he mentions, I don't know if this is particular to the Hanafis or not, he excludes the bird. According to him, the bird might eat some of the animal, and then you can still eat it. So if you want, ask about that. I don't have any details there, but just so that you're aware that maybe you might need to ask about that. But if it's a leopard or a dog, no. If they eat from it, you can't eat it. They can just kill it only. وَالرَّابِعُ أَن تَتَكَرَّرَ الشَّرَائِطُ مِنَ الْجَارِحَةِ. And the fourth condition is that the other conditions are done repetitively by this animal. بِحَيْثُ يُظَنُّ تَأَدُّبُهَا, such that it is thought that it is trained, well trained. وَلَا يُرْجَعُ فِي التَّكْرَارِ لِعَدَدٍ. And there's no particular number that must be referred to. بل المرجع فيه لأهل الخبرة بطباع الجوارح. Rather, the reference here is for those who have experience with the nature of the animals. Yani, an experienced trainer. The reference here is basically that an experienced trainer graduates your animal or verifies that your animal is trained. فإن عدمت منها إحدى الشرائط. So if one of the conditions are lacking, لم يحل ما أخذته الجارحة, then whatever this trained animal took, yani killed, would not be lawful. إلا أن يدرك حيا, unless it is caught alive. فيذكى, and then slaughtered, niceified. فيحل عندئذ, then it will be lawful. وإذا أرسل الكلب المعلم ونحوه من هو من أهل الذكاء. And when someone with a valid slaughter releases his trained dog or the like, فقتل الصيد بظفره أو بنابه, and then this trained animal kills the hunt with its talon or with its fang, أو تركه ولم تبق فيه حياة مستقرة, أو بقيت فيه حياة مستقرة إلا أنه لم يبق من الزمان ما يمكن ذبحه فيه حتى مات. So if this animal released by someone who has a valid slaughter, so that's going to be a Muslim, Christian, or Jew in particular, and then this trained animal kills the hunt with its talon or its fang, or it left it alive, meaning it didn't kill it. When I say here it didn't kill it, I mean it didn't stay on it until it died. So you know how the animal, like the dog, he might get the animal in his mouth and he will shake it and shake it and shake it until it's dead. So not this one, not this case. Like for example, he got it and he shook it hard and he really hurt it bad, but he let it out of his mouth. Maybe he dropped it or maybe he let it go, for example. So that's what it means here. أو تركه, or he left it, ولم تبقى فيه حياة مستقرة, but it didn't have a stable life. So the animal attacked it, it didn't kill it, it didn't leave it without killing it, rather it left it without killing it, but it still died as a result of its wounds. That is to say, right here in particular, all that was left is it's in the throes of death. It's dying, but it's not dead. It doesn't have a stable life. Or even if it did have a stable life, like the dog got this animal and he shook it hard and then he dropped it or let it go, and now it is alive, it's stably alive, and you're trying to catch up to it so you can slaughter it, but by the time you got up to it, it was dead. يعني لم يبق من الزمان ما يمكن ذبحه فيه حتى مات. By the time you did catch up to it, it was dead. Hal. It's all, in all these cases, this animal is lawful for you to eat. وإن أرسله مجوسي أو شارك المسلم في الإرسال أو شارك الجارحة جارحة أرسلها مجوسي في قتل الصيد. Now, if this animal were released by a Majusi, or this trained animal is jointly unleashed by a Muslim and a Majusi, they both together unleashed this dog or animal. Or the Muslim unleashed his dog, but then a dog sent by the Majusi, also another dog sent by a Majusi, shared or helped, participated in killing this hunt. شارك الجارحة جارحة أرسلها مجوسي في قتل الصيد لم يحل. Then this animal is not lawful to eat. And Majusi is only an example. Anything other than Muslim, Christian, or Jew. وإن قتلت الجارحة الصيد بثقلها ففيه قولان. And if the trained hunting animal killed the hunt by its heaviness, I don't know if blunt force works here, maybe, then there's two sayings about that. Like, what does it mean he killed it by its heaviness? Like, he ran into it. The animal runs so fast, or the bird. Actually, they say some birds do that. They dive bomb at incredible speed, and they just hit something. That's how they incapacitate it. So maybe they would kill it with this collision. Or they would knock it out. So maybe something like that is what's meant here. So it says, if the trained animal killed the hunt with its heaviness, perhaps with its blunt force, فَفِيهِ قَوْلَانِ, then there's two sayings about that. Meaning, lawful would be one saying, and unlawful would be the other saying. وَإِنْ كَانَتِ الْجَارِحَةُ كَلْبًا غُسِلَ مَوْضِعُ الظُّفُرِ وَالنَّابِ مِنَ الصَّيْدِ. And if the trained hunting animal were a dog, then the bites and the scratches, so the places of the nail and the teeth, that means where the dog scratched and bit, would be washed on the hunt. Yani, you're going to get that animal, and then you're going to look at it and see all the spots where the dog bit it or scratched it and clean it with soil. Yani, according to the rules you know. وَقِيلَ يُعْفَى عَنْهُ, and it was said that this is altogether pardoned. You don't have to do that. وَإِنْ رَمَى طَيْرًا فَأَصَابَهُ السَّهْمُ, and if he shot a bird with an arrow, فَوَقَعَ فِي مَاءٍ, and then it fell in water, أَوْ عَلَى جَبَلٍ فَتَرَدَّى مِنْهُ, or it fell upon a mountain, or let's say a cliff, and then fell from there, فَمَاتَ, and then it died, meaning by the time you caught it, it was dead. You shot it. You saw it fall into the water. maybe you're not sure it was dead when you shot it, because you need to catch up to it and see its circumstance. So you shot it. Okay, I got it. Now you're gonna go run to it. You shot it and it fell in the water. Or you shot it and then it hit a cliff and then fell off the cliff. And then you're gonna run to go catch up to it. Famata, and you found it dead. Lam yahil, it's not lawful for you to eat this one. Illa an kana waqa'a sahmu fi fanaharahu. Let me look this word up here. Libba, golden necklace. Labba, upper part of the chest. That's it, right there. Labbatihi, labbatihi. The upper part of the chest, the throat of an animal, the spot where its throat is slit in slaughtering. Okay, yeah, like right over the chest. So, labba. إلا أن كان وقع سهم في لبته, unless فنحره, unless the arrow actually pierced his throat and slaughtered it. أو في كبده, or فأبان حشوته ونحو ذلك, or the arrow hit his liver and his guts came out, and the likes of that. So I don't have any elaboration for that. وَإِنْ أَصَابَ صَيْدًا فَجَرَحَهُ جَرْحًا لَمْ يَقْتُلْهُ. And if one hit a hunted animal and wounded it with a wound that doesn't kill it or didn't kill it, ثُمَّ غَابَ عَنْهُ, and then he lost track of it, فَوَجَدَهُ مَيْتًا, and then he found it dead. حَلَّ فِي أَحَدِ الْقَوْلَيْنِ, then it's lawful to eat this one according to one of two sayings. وَلَا يَحِلُّ فِي الْآخَرِ, so it would be lawful to eat this according to one of two sayings and unlawful according to the other. So what's this scenario? You shot it, you lost track of it, and then you found it dead. So there's two sayings here. So what's the difference between this and your ideal situation? I never went hunting, so yani, I'm not talking as an experienced hunter here. He said, what are the sayings? So yeah, let's back up then. Let's look at all the scenarios the Sheikh gave here. He says here, when the trained dog is sent by someone whose slaughter is valid, and then it killed it, or it didn't kill it, it left it dying, it didn't kill it, it left it dying, or it didn't kill it and didn't leave it dying, yani it left it stably alive, wounded, stably alive though, but then it died. By the time you caught up to it, you didn't have enough time to catch up to it to kill it. So all of that is lawful. Another case here, if a Majusi or anyone other than a Muslim, Christian, or Jew released the trained animal, or he shared with the Muslim in releasing the trained animal, or his trained animal shared with the Muslim's trained animal, then that animal that killed hunt is not lawful. Here's another case. If the trained animal killed the hunt by its heaviness or by its blunt force, then there's two sayings about whether you can eat it or not. That means one saying is lawful, one saying is not lawful. Here's another saying, another detail. If you shot the bird and it fell in water, or it fell on a cliff and then fell off the cliff, you shot it and it hit a cliff and then fell off the cliff, and then you found it dead, it's not lawful to eat unless you found that you actually managed to hit it in the throat, or you hit it in the liver and its guts came out. Yani, looks like saying Because if you hit it in the liver and its guts came out, that means died before hit the water, or died before it fell off the cliff. And he said here, and the likes of that. So I don't know what's the likes of that. Hitting its liver and making its guts come out, then you can eat it. And the likes of that. So I don't know what's the likes of that. Here's next case. If he hit the hunted animal, and wounded it with a wound that doesn't kill it, like still trying to run away from him, for example. He hit it and it's still going. So he wounded it and he didn't kill it. So he lost track of it. But then he found it dead. Then there's two sayings. One saying is that it's lawful to eat, and another is that it's not lawful to eat. And here's another case. Sheikh says, وَإِنْ أَرْسَلَ سَهْمًا أَوْ كَلْبًا عَلَى صَيْدٍ. He says, is this the Shafi'i school? Should be the Shafi'i school unless Sheikh says otherwise. He wouldn't usually be giving the rules outside of Shafi'i school without saying so. But when he says there's two sayings, for example, then that could mean two sayings in the school, or it could mean two sayings between different schools. So to pinpoint those two sayings requires the knowledge of that. Here, Sheikh has a sixth detail. وَإِنْ أَرْسَلَ سَهْمًا أَوْ كَلْبًا عَلَى صَيْدٍ. If one shot an arrow or released a dog on a hunt, فَقَتَلَ غَيْرَهُ, and then this arrow or dog killed other than what he was aiming for, hal, that one is lawful. That animal that he didn't target is lawful. وَإِنْ أُرْسِلَ عَلَى غَيْرِ صَيْدٍ فَقَتَلَ صَيْدًا لَمْ يَحِلْ. However, if his target was other than a hunted animal, and he managed to actually hit and kill a hunted animal, it's not lawful. So you caught that there under number 6. If he shot the arrow or sent the dog on an animal, so he has an animal in his sights, that's the one he's aiming for. So he aims and shoots, or he gets his dog ready and he says Bismillah and he releases his dog. And then he actually wound up shooting a different animal, or his dog wound up catching a different animal, one different than the one he was aiming for. Sheikh says this one, even though it's not the one he was aiming for, is lawful. But if he were aiming for other than the hunted animal, but managed to kill a hunted animal, then it's not lawful to eat it. Lam yahil. وَقِيلَ يَحِلُّ فِي السَّهْمِ دُونَ الْكَلْبِ. And there's another saying that if that were by the arrow, it's lawful. He was aiming for something with his arrow, not a hunted animal. And he managed to actually hit a hunted animal with his arrow, then it was said this is lawful, but not for a dog. He sent his dog after some target that's not a hunted animal, and then his dog got a hunted animal, then this one is not lawful. وَإِنْ رَمَى شَيْئًا يَحْسَبُهُ حَجَرًا. And if he shot something thinking it was a stone, فَكَانَ صَيْدًا, and it happened to be a hunted animal, فَقَتَلَهُ, and he killed it, حَلَّ أَكْلُهُ, then it would be lawful for him to eat it. وَإِنْ أَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِ كَلْبًا فَقَدْ قِيلَ يَحِلُّ وَقِيلَ لَا يَحِلُّ. And if he released a dog to get something he thought was a stone, and it happened to be a hunted animal, then there's two sayings. It was said that it's lawful, and it was said that it's not lawful. وَإِنْ نَصَبَ سِكِّينًا فَوَقَعَ بِهِ صَيْدٌ فَجَرَحَهُ فَمَاتَ لَمْ يَحِلْ. Here's a new case, 7. So I left some details under 6, not sure if they should be split into their own points. Number 7 here, if he erected a knife that falls upon a hunt and wounds it, and so it dies, this is not lawful. So what is that? That's a trap. In other words, Sheikh saying, if he set a trap for it, and then the trap killed it, then it's not lawful to eat it. So that's why you can't eat the animals, the chickens that are slaughtered by automatic machine. Not unless somebody is hitting the button every single time for each chicken, one by one. He hits the button, cuts the throat. He hits the button, cuts the throat. That would be lawful. I don't know if they have something like that for the chickens, because in the first place, the point behind that is for mass production. From what I saw, those machines are, it's not like that. Rather, the way they are is you're just going to push the button to turn it on. You're going to set up all your chickens and push the button to turn it on, then everything just goes, and it's mass production there. But bigger animals, yes, they have contraptions in which they're going to have to contain those animals one by one and cut them one by one. If the cut was as a result of the valid slaughterer pushing the button, that's valid. So what I was just saying about the valid slaughterer pushing the button for the chickens one by one, what my talk means is that when he hits the button and the first chicken is killed, that one is lawful. Just the first one. And then everything else is going to be haram. But then, if he leaves that one to get mixed with all the other ones, then that's going to be haram too, because he's not going to know which one is the lawful one. وَمَنْ أَخَذَ صَيْدًا أَوْ أَزَالَ امْتِنَاعَهُ مَلِكَهُ. And Sheikh says, and anyone who caught a hunt, he took it. He took it, so he caught it. أو أزال امتناعه, or he incapacitated it, he made it not dangerous, then he owns it. ومن ملك صيدا ثم أرسله لم يزل ملكه عنه في أصح الوجهين. Then once a person owns a hunted animal, if he releases it, he still owns it after releasing it. Releasing it does not relinquish his ownership of it, according to the most accurate of two ways. So there is a way, according to one way, releasing it relinquishes his ownership of it after he caught it. And according to the most accurate way, releasing it won't make it not his anymore. وتحصل التذكية في المقدور على ذبحه ولو كان وحشيا بالقطع المحض للحلقوم بالقطع المحض. And the nicifying takes place for an animal that can be captured, like a cow. It's not going to run away, or a sheep. One that it can be captured and therefore slaughtered, even if it were wild. Its meat will not be niceified, but by merely cutting. You don't have here the option of shooting it or sending a dog on it. للحلقوم وهو مجرى النفس دخولا وخروجا وللمريء وهو مجرى الطعام والشراب من الحلق إلى المعدة. By cutting the air pipe, I think that's esophagus, and the food pipe. Correct me if I'm wrong though. One of those is like one of those pipes. It's basically maybe some soft bone that pipe consists of. I think that's the esophagus. It's on the verge of being some bone, but maybe it's flexible. Perhaps you know what I'm talking about. وَيَكُونُ قَطْعُ مَا ذُكِرَ دَفْعَةً وَاحِدَةً or دُفْعَةً وَاحِدَةً. And the The cut that's been mentioned here would have to be a single instance. لا في دفعتين, not two cuts. فإنه يحرم المذبوح حينئذ, because then the slaughtered thing would be forbidden. إن لم توجد الحياة المستقرة عند الدفعة الثانية. The slaughtered animal is not going to be lawful if when he wants to bring the blade back to the throat of the animal to cut it a second time, it doesn't have stable life. So he wants to cut the throat a second time. This second time, does it have stable life when he brings the blade to its throat a second time? If not, then this animal, khalas, you can't eat it. You said, what you taught us that I remember was that of cutting two pipes. Yes, because they call it pipe, but one of them is actually like really a pipe. And maybe the other one is, yani one of them is like, has harder material than the other one. One of those two has harder material than the other one. Yeah, cartilage, yes, thank you. بأن قطع جزءا من الحلقوم والمريء ثم رفع يده وانتظر حتى زالت الحياة المستقرة. So, a scenario of what the Sheikh is saying is invalid, is for someone to partially cut this air pipe and food pipe, and then to lift his hand, yani to remove the blade, and to wait until there is no stable life, فأعاد السكين, and then to put the blade back to the throat, فأكمل القطع, and then to continue cutting. فإنه لا يحل المذبوح بخلاف ما إذا وجدت الحياة المستقرة عند الدفعة الثانية. Indeed, the slaughtered animal in this case will not be lawful, as opposed to if he found it with stable life upon the second cut. فيحل حينئذ, then it will be lawful. فلو أعاد السكين فورا بعد رفعها أو سقطت منه فأخذ غيرها حالا ووقع بها ما بقي حل المذبوح. Important case here that I didn't used to know, which is if one replaces the blade immediately, yani he started cutting, and then the blade came off of the throat, and then immediately he put it back, or he started cutting and then he dropped the blade, and so he picked it up immediately and put the blade back to the animal's throat, and then he continued. This slaughtered animal is lawful. لأن هاتين المرتين مع عدم طول الفصل كالمرة الواحدة, because those two times, since the separation between them was not long, they are still like a single time. ومتى بقي شيء من الحلقوم والمريء لم يقطع لم يحل المذبوح. And whenever there is still part of the food pipe or air pipe uncut, then this animal is not lawful. This slaughtered animal is not lawful. فإن أراد الأكمل في تذكيته زاد على قطع ما ذكر قطع الودجين وهما عرقان في صفحتي العنق محيطان بالحلقوم. And if one wants the most excellent, slaughter, then he adds to the cutting, he adds to the mentioned cutting the jugular veins. And those are two veins on the two sides of the neck that encompass the hulqum. I don't remember if the hulqum is the air pipe or the food pipe. You said how deep of a cut one has to go. He has to sever the air pipe and the food pipe. That's how deep he has to go. Deep enough to sever those two. Hold on. Let's take an example of a cow here if we can. Okay. Here, let me share this picture with you. See this cow here? Picture. Whoa. Here. So you see here, here's his mouth, obviously. Here's his teeth. So here's his nose. So you know he can breathe through his mouth and he can breathe through his nose. Where's lungs at? Where's stomach at? Here's his stomach. So whichever one goes to the stomach, that's the food, for the food and the drink. That's this one here, number 8. It's going to the stomach. Whichever one goes to the lungs, that's the air pipe. That's this one here, number 7. See, this is the one that has the cartilage. This one doesn't have cartilage. Basically, it's just a tunnel. That's his throat. This is the mouth, and then he swallows. So it's just going to go down his throat. Doesn't have cartilage and bone around it and stuff. It's probably just muscle there, and then it's going to make its way down to the stomach. This one has cartilage here. Okay. So yeah, so what you have to cut these two. The harder of the two is this one because it has cartilage there. So you're going to cut that throat, penetrate all that meat, and go through those two pipes there. One is actually really like a pipe, and the other one is basically just the throat. That's as far as you have to go. See this one here? Trachea. Esophagus. Yeah. So, yeah. This one here, that's the one that has the cartilage. You got to cut that one. That trachea and esophagus. Those two. That's what you have to cut. Here, look at the chicken. Same thing. Has trachea. See that? That pipe, that's cartilage there. Going to his lungs. So that's the air pipe. And here's the esophagus. Here's the esophagus. This one. So that's basically just his throat. Goes down to his stomach. Okay? You're welcome. Wallahu a'lam. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك